Okay, so this last presentation is about the reports we need in order to do a review. So because in DG Connect, we are used to have with each reporting period in our FP7 project and in our CIP projects a review meeting where a project officer is meeting the consortium together and where the PO is accompanied by external experts. So many things have already been said on the reporting requirements. I do not need to repeat it, but the reporting periods, they are defined. Typically, they are 12 months, but they could be different periods in your project, depending on the duration of the project. These 60 days after each period, where the periodic reports have to be submitted, is important to align to the 60 days because it affects the date of the review meeting. And when we settle the review meeting, we take into account these 60 days. For the final report, it's also 60 days after the end of the project where you have to submit. And there you will see that the final review normally takes place within the 60 days. And as has been explained by my colleague before, this is for the simple reason of having your costs eligible for the project. In 30 days after the receipt of the final payment, we expect your report on distribution of community financial contributions. And deliverables, they have to be submitted within the deadline, which is given in the Annex 1. So there is not an extra 30 or 60 days to be added. There you say in the table of deliverables, due date at month 6 or at month 8. And then that's exactly the month where we expect your deliverable to be submitted. If you are deviating from submitting the deliverable within that deadline, the justification we would like to give you is in the management part of your periodic report, where you simply justify why this deliverable was late. It has, in most of the cases, this has no real impact in your project. If it does not impact your work, if it doesn't impact the work within the work packager or the consequent work packages. However, if you are systematically late in delivering deliverables, I think there the simple recommendation from the project officer will be, well, do you need to revise the description of work in order to meet deadlines, or is there any delay which is now being cumulative and affecting all the work, then it should require an amendment. The reporting template is available on the participant portal. So it's not a free template you can use. So there we would like you to use the template. And this has been said, it comprises a declaration by the project coordinator, a publishable summary, the project progress, which also includes the deliverables and the milestone table in respect to where you will say, well, these deliverables were due and they have been submitted at that month or a month which deviates from the due date. And same with the milestones table, we expect you to report on where are you with achieving the milestones which were due for this reporting period at stake. Use of resources also has to be explained, but that's only for those actions or those projects which do have an actual cost reimbursement, so not for the thematic networks with lump sums. There is one specific table which is also, it is available in the template for reporting, where we in DG Connect, we also want to receive it for FP7 projects, and it's the cumulative effort in person months per work package, per beneficiary. So it is a table where you report what was the actual person months in each work package by each beneficiary towards the planned efforts which you had in your description of work. It's simply a way of reporting which allows the project officer and the experts to look at where are you in relation to what was the plan, the initial plan. Of course, you can always deviate, but as long as deviations are justified and explained, it's accepted. And the other table is a table per beneficiary detailing the cost items in the period. I understand that this is a table which is, in fact, a pop-up which comes into this in the C forms, and it says asking you for more detailed information on major cost items. So together with the progress report, part of the periodic report is also the financial statement and the financial certificates. The final report has a bit of different template, which is also available. And it is in addition to the periodic report for the last periodic report, which includes the final publishable summary report of the whole project, so covering the results of the project, the conclusions, and the socio-economic impact of the project. I don't think I have to repeat this, so the transmission modalities, they can be either its paper version, or if you have requested an amendment for the e-submission, or you are in a Call 7 project, then it is by electronic means. But I would like to highlight here that deliverables, they cannot be uploaded in NEF. So this is a functionality which does not work. It is available. It is foreseen for the future for H2020 that also deliverables are submitted to us by electronic means. The way I think today we do not receive so many deliverables by email, simply because deliverables sometimes are a size which do not we do not receive them or are stopped by the servers. And therefore, in many projects, the projects have their they have their website, and on the website there is a specific part where you grant access to the project officer and the experts, where you publish or where you upload your deliverables on which we can download them. I think that's more or less the most common way for us receiving the deliverables. If this is the way you work with your project officer, it's good that this is communicated well in advance. And also when there are deliverables available, they are for you have finalized your deliverables, they are there for the Commission to download them. It's good that you send an email to notify the project officer. So we do have indeed 90 days to evaluate the reports and the deliverables and to make the payment. So it means that within these 90 days, if we, as I said, we do have this habit of having a review meeting, we also need to plan our review meeting accordingly. Because the payment is made after approval of reports and deliverables, and that's exactly a process we do within a review process. So to come to the purpose and the objectives of a project review, so the aim of a technical review is to assess the work which was carried out in that period, so the period which is under review. That's also what is stipulated in the grant agreement, and it also indicates that we can do this kind of reviews also up to 5 years after the end of a project. However, this is very unusual. The grant agreement also says that the Commission may be assisted by external experts who do give recommendations to the Commission. However, the final decision is always taken by the Commission. But there is a consolidated review report, which is written by the external experts, which is also communicated to you. So the objective of the review is to assess the work carried out under the project, and therefore the means we have is the project reports and the deliverables. Also, because we do know that the effort to generate a use of resource table is sometimes taking longer than the technical part of the progress report, where you simply have to report on what has been achieved. I know that detailing the person months and the costs is time consuming and takes most of your time. However, even if that's not available in a final version, we would like that this is also available to the experts and to the project officer at the time of the review, because it's also something which is assessed in the review meeting. They will also look at the way the project is managed and at the expected impact. So normally before 6 months before the end of your reporting period, I would expect that you have been approached by the project officer in order to set up and to finalize this, to define the review date, and also to communicate to you the review experts. So the project officer should well in advance try to find out which experts would have the right expertise to assist the project officer in doing this whole exercise. Typically, there are 2 up to 5 experts who will be with the project officer. He should communicate the names to you, ask your approval on the names, and you can only, based on commercial confidentiality, there could be a reason for rejecting the person as such. For the rest, we would need to look case by case why you would reject a specific person. Then also the date has to be fixed together with you, and this has to be in line with this 60 days. You have to finalize your reports, but also should allow us to make the payment within the 90 days. So we do know that with periods like summer, July, August, with Christmas periods, sometimes there are evaluation periods, or you are preparing another proposal. So we know that sometimes there are constraints, and there we try to see whether the PO and the coordinator cannot come to an agreement in which maybe before the 60 days have expired, you are in a position to send already, maybe not the final, but a very good draft of the periodic report, which is the basis for assessing the work. The review meetings, it depends on what has to be reviewed. If all the material can be easily brought into Brussels or Luxembourg, I can imagine that the project officer is preferring a meeting here at the premises of the Commission. However, as in CIP, I know you have a lot of pilots and demonstration activities. Then I think it's rather at the site of where these things are happening, so that it can be properly assessed and reviewed. Also, a project technical review, there is also not a free format for that. So there are guidance notes, which also are available to you, including the review report template. So whatever is assessed, you can see that there is the template for the review report, which is also available to you. So this is the material which is used by the project officer and by the external experts in order to review your work. It is also the description of work. So it's very important when you have the first review meeting that, because sometimes even the POs simply forget to send it. So, but make sure that if you are in contact, because that's maybe one of the exceptions where we do allow coordinators to be in direct contact with experts, it's to exchange the material and have the material transferred to the experts, like giving them access to your website so that they can download the deliverables. For other direct contacts, we do not assume that experts after a review meeting are in direct contact with the coordinator without the consent of the project officer. Project officer should always be in the loop. So the material they would need, especially for the first review meeting, is a description of work, at least to see to what was agreed during the negotiation with the Commission and what is under review. Also the progress report for the period which is under review. All the deliverables which was due in this period according to the deliverable table in the Annex 1. And as I said, if there are some deliverables for which you have a delay and are not submitted in that period, you simply justify and you say, well, this deliverable will not be, is not ready. Or if there is a draft version, you do send the draft or you make the draft version available. Reviews, reports from previous reviews is also used by the external expert. Normally, we do keep the 2 up to 5 experts along the lifetime of the project. From review to review, we are not changing our experts if there is not a specific reason to do so. So normally they are aware of what was sent in the previous review, and therefore they should, in fact, not receive it. But in case we have renewed an expert, it's what we make available to the expert. If it is a first review meeting, it might be very good also to send the work program and the call for proposals, and any additional information which was requested by the Commission will also be made available. For the final technical review, so the one which takes place within the 60 days, also there the complete final report is part of the review material, And if it's not a final report, then a draft version. So we do tell our project officers, for the reason of having drafts available and not the final versions, it is not a reason to delay, postpone, or even not have the review meeting. We all know that fixing another date is a costly event because tickets might have been booked, or also hotels might have been booked. So it should be avoided, but in case the real relevant material is not available, that it is a good reason for the PO to cancel and to postpone it. But it should not happen too often. So a review meeting also typically takes place for 1 day. Can vary between half a day up to 2 days for larger projects. And normally an outcome of the review should be communicated to you at the end of the review. So you should not, we do encourage project officers within 1 month after the review meeting to send you the outcome report of the review, which is the Commission's decision, and it's also annexed by a review report, which is the consolidated report by the experts. The conclusions or the findings in that report should not be surprising to you, because normally, well, you should know what has been discussed during the review meeting, and you should have an outcome. We do ask project officers to conclude at the end of the review meeting, also to formalize what has been concluded by the expert team and by himself, in order what is rejected, what is the final outcome, do we ask for major changes to the description of work, or can the project continue like this? Because, well, if it takes another month in order to inform you, if it has a huge impact, you should know as soon as possible. So, but that possible review outcomes are, we allow the project to continue without modification of the Annex 1, or with minor modifications. It can also be that we consider that the project can only continue with major modifications. Well, with the minor, maybe not, but with the major modifications, you can see that this will request an amendment, which will be initiated by you. But of course, from the review report, it should be clear in what sense the description of work should be modified. On the other hand, the modifications can also come from your side. So if you want to modify things because in some areas the state of the art has also changed, or there are other solutions or technologies available, and you would like to change it, I think the review meeting also is an opportunity for you to ask for the permission to change the description of work. So it is on both sides that you can make requests for changing the description of work. And of course, that's then the basis to have the next review meeting on the new version of the description of work. Also, as I said, in the review meeting, the deliverables and the reports will be assessed in order to accept or reject them, and that has an impact on your payment. It may be that we suspend the time limit for evaluating reports and deliverables and disbursing the payments. It could be that a project is suspended. It means that there are real issues with the projects, which maybe you have highlighted yourself in the review meeting, or which the experts came across during the review process. And it looks like you really need to make major changes in order to continue the work. And then it would be better to suspend the project, try to find out how you will fix the issues. Maybe you need to replace beneficiaries. Maybe you need major modifications to the description of work, and it wouldn't make sense to further continue the work, but just interrupt by a period. It can be 3, 6, 9 months, and it could also be that in the review meeting, the conclusion is that, well, this project is not really performing very well. We really need to adjust it, and it cannot continue as such. So we need to suspend in order to make the necessary changes. It could be that it initiates the termination of the grant agreement or of the participation of any of the beneficiaries. It could be that it reduces the grant, issue a recovery order regarding all or parts of the payments made, and apply any applicable sanctions. Of course, these last two, there are always some initial actions which will hint in that direction, and it's not like something which is taken and should not be like come as a surprise to you. So are there any questions on this review process?
Our project officer just wanted review meeting 30 days after the end of the periodic or the first period. Of course, that will not allow us to make a very good financial overview of the project. So he demanded just a prognosis or things like that. Is that acceptable to you, you think?
Yeah, I guess that the project officer wants to do the technical review at day 30 after the end of the project, and that I expect what he will certainly do with the financial details as soon as he will receive them after the 60 days is again to verify them with the experts. Of course, it requires a bit of more work, but after 30 days, I assume you will have to give him the assumptions. Maybe they are drafts, but yeah, indeed, drafts. So if you are in agreement with the project officer on this procedure, it is acceptable to us, and it could work, yeah. Okay, then are there any other remaining questions not related to his last presentations, but to other parts? If we can answer them, we will try to. Yes, please.
I have a specific one. I'm not sure if it's interesting to all, but in our project, which is a fairly large project, the European Location Framework, consisting of 30 partners, including 15 national mapping agencies, we have put aside some money, considerable amount, for 450,000 euros, for getting more content into the pan-European services that we are creating. This is a 50% funding project, of course. So the problem is who should pay for the remaining 50% if we sort of acquire more content. Content will normally come from a national mapping agency. The simple way would be to amend with new beneficiaries, of course. But since we are already 30 partners, at least our first project officer was really against that. We have raised the issue with our new project officer, who is a little bit more flexible in including more beneficiaries. But do you have any other ideas how we can really achieve what we want, more content into our project, data content, information content, but still have in a way a sustainable financial situation for us?
I guess this is a very project-specific question. I would maybe like to deal with that more bilateral.
I mean, there is a very usual problem for everybody, but I don't think there is any provision for buying something which is funded 100%. So the remaining 50% can only come from the other partner of the consortium. There is no other way the Commission can fund it, unfortunately. That is based on the way the project works. I know that sometimes it's very difficult to find a solution around it.
If you allow me to comment upon that, well, in our case, we know that in addition to the 15 national mapping agencies already in the project, some others would be happy to join, and they are willing to sort of fund the remaining 50% themselves. But in a way, to buy the information or like that is very complicated and leaves us with a lot of financially technical issues like value-added tax in addition to everything else. So the easy way would be to allow an amendment by introducing new beneficiaries. But
It's really difficult to judge from here without knowing all the details, of course, but first you should have the discussion with your project officer, as I recommended. And if he does not agree, he must give his reasons. Please, I mean, if he just says it's too much already, well, it should be a little bit more elaborate than that. But you still can, nothing prevents you, if the project is still running, to submit a request for amendment. And that such a request will be treated then with the whole loop of person that normally approves either acceptance or rejection of a request for amendment. So if you don't agree with your project officer, you still want to submit your request and add new beneficiaries, of course you can do that. You can argue your case in a covering letter, and then here the DG will deal with that. And then, of course, if the project officer will, in any case, have his first view, and he will the one who will give his view to his hierarchy to reject the request. But if you are, then he will for sure have to be more elaborate on that.
Maybe it could also be subject for discussion in one of the review meetings, where you have not only the project officer, but also the experts. And also, as Dalibor said, if the project officer rejects, he should have good justified reasons. It's not because the consortium has already so many partners that you can, because I think the burden is more on your side than on the project officer's side.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to add, for the sake of the order, we have a very flexible project officer, so, and communicating well with him, but I think he has had a lot of other work to do, so we have been, this question has been open for 1.5 months now, and since you are the expert here, I just wanted to raise it with you also. So.
I have one question about the final financial report. In case there are, for instance, one partner that has spent less than its budget, and then there is another one that has spent more, then you compensate, given that you check the eligibility, of course, but then the savings are allocated to the overspending partners. This is one question. And the other question is also for the final review. If there are deliverables that are late, in the sense that are not completed by the end of the period, but of course they are maybe advanced draft already available, etc., they can be submitted even before the review meeting also, or what we can do? Thank you.
Yeah, on the first question, the distribution is up to the coordinator, so you have this flexibility. As long as the costs are indeed eligible, and well, you have received the money from the Commission, so therefore it has been cost which was approved as eligible to the project. On the second question, well, you have to bear in mind that only costs which are related to do the management tasks after the 60 days are eligible. So any work which still goes into writing the deliverables will not be eligible costs. So, well, yeah, it is at their own expenses, but indeed, if they have to be sent for review, well, then I would say as final versions, because you won't have a chance to make adjustments, and if not final, then they should be very soon after the review meeting be in a final format. Because of course you can work with draft versions, and then as also the experts will take some days in order to make up the consolidated report, they can still look at what has changed, and with Word, it helps you. You can make the track changes, so it doesn't.
Yeah, basically, for some final deliverables, maybe some data are just gathered in the end. They just need to be inserted in the papers, and there is really no time to do it exactly by the end. Then that was why I was asking.
Yeah, I'm sure that then by other means, like in a presentation, you can show the evidence that the work was done and what were the results of the project. So, yeah.
I mean, in previous project, we have asked for an extension of a couple of months because it was very clear there was no time to prepare the final deliverables, keeping the original end, because it was really a very, let's say, painless extension. We didn't have any problem with the project officer to have 2 months more. And even the financial penalization for partners is very limited because we are talking about the final 10%. So I would suggest that probably is the easiest solution for you.
Concerning the interest that are from the pre-financing, bank interest that shall not be given anymore to the Commission back, and how this must be distributed within the consortium, if this distribution must be then put in the final report, or thanks.
So since the applicability of the new financial regulation, which is the 1st January of 2013, the coordinators are no longer bound to have an interest-bearing bank account, and they don't have to declare interest incurred by the pre-financing at all. So
it's up to the, I mean, but for certain projects that have started before the change in the regulation, but so there is a share that must be given and a share.
Yes. Yeah. The part that of the interest that has been accrued before the end of 2012, that still needs to be declared to the Commission. Okay.
What about transfer of budget between cost categories and also between partners? In previous grants, I've been used to that. There has been some guidance on that, some percentage, for instance, that the consortium could handle themselves. But there is nothing of that character in the current grant agreement. Do you have any rules of thumb for that? Or must we always agree with the project officer?
Basically, we as a Commission will reimburse incurred cost, and the cost will be eligible only if they are covered in Annex 1. So the cost incurred on the task and work described in Annex 1. The budget you give at the beginning, we understand it's only an estimation, unless it's lump sums, that's different, but if you declare actual cost, we understand that the estimation is not precise and you might shift the budget at your will within the consortium as long as you stay within the margin of Annex 1. So if two beneficiaries work on different tasks and you suppose that both will cost 100,000 and suddenly it turns out they did the task as previewed in Annex 1 and one costed 80 and the other 120, that's fine for us. You can reshuffle the budget.
A question: as projects can differ in size, is it foreseen in the future to cover coordination costs at 100%? It's specifically a question from this side of the table because we just did the maths. We have 3 projects in total. It's 170 partners, 75 million euros. And coordination is becoming a cost of close to 4 to 5 million euros on a 25 million euro project. And we're a bit worried by everything we've heard today because that means we probably need to hire more people to manage this. So it's more to say, how is it foreseen for huge monster projects to deal with this? Is there some form of, I don't know, priority treatment we get or specifics? Because all our projects are mainly consisting in examples that are not in the book. And we often wait 12 months for an amendment to be processed. And what is foreseen in the future, because we're sort of running on the edge and have very, very good project officers, financial people helping us in DG Connect and everything, but we do have the feeling that the process doesn't cater for huge things like these.
Well, unfortunately, this is not that much a question for the Commission, because we here applied the rules that were approved by the member states. So we have these rates that we have to apply, and we have the budget that we can spend. And so, of course, at the beginning of the project, the operational capacity of the coordinator is normally checked, or should be checked. So that's why we accept coordinators where we expect them to be able to fulfill all the tasks of the coordinator on the previewed budget. But that's about it what we can say to that. As far as we know, there's nothing previewed specifically for specific reimbursement rate for coordinators of, as you call it, monster projects. But if you, maybe it will be for you easier for H2020, because normally there is single reimbursement rate for everything, and it's up to 100%, so it will ease your role in some cases.
Now we're on the CIP pilot. We could benefit from Horizon 2020 admin, but I think we're stuck in CIP.
No, for for what was signed, unfortunately, you can't benefit from the reimbursement rate of H2020.
Yes, I have a question regarding IPR. I understand that the foreground is jointly owned and that allocations and exercise are defined then in a separate agreement, right? How would you advise me if one of the partners really insists that until such an agreement is reached, that the shares, the relevant shares of the work are being defined according to the time spent, let's say, for the work to be done? I have such a case.
Well, this is one of the typical issues we expect that you have already foreseen just before starting the project, because may jeopardize the development of the project itself. So it shouldn't arrive during the implementation of the life cycle of the project. Should have been already foreseen, because as I said, the model grant agreement for CIP par rapport à FP7, as we didn't have enough legal basis to have very few provisions on IPR, we couldn't go beyond what the financial regulation and the decision established in the program already foresee. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have foreseen that before. If suddenly it arises problem on how to use and exploit and even further working based on the fact that no ownership regime, co-ownership regime has been foreseen previously, and there's a partner who is, let's say, jeopardizing the development of this situation. All partners involved must be aware that it at certain point it could even put in question the awarding decision if you are not able to go on with the work itself, just because you stopped working because you have not foreseen how to do or how to manage the IPR at the further steps in the life cycle of the project. So I would suggest that you raise awareness that if you're not able to work any longer because you have a partner which blocks the situation, it may put in question the operational capacity of the whole consortium. So that's why as I said in the presentation, we expect that you already foresee all these kind of problems before they arise, because we cannot establish a regime by default in the grant agreement.